Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be talking to you guys about the pros and cons of going to grad school. There are a lot of different pros and cons, and I would literally say for every pro I can give you a con, like that go hand in hand with each other. So honestly, that's what we're going to do today. I'm going to give you 5 pros and I'm going to counter them with 5 cons because we're just going to be honest. I am a first year graduate student, so I'm about almost done with my first year. I'm definitely happy with my decision, but I did do a lot of research to figure out, is grad school right for me? Okay, sorry y'all, I'm cold. I'm putting my flannel on. I wasn't gonna wear it, but it's a cold day here in Charlotte. At the end of the day, this is a personal decision, so you really have to decide on if the program is right for you, if it's worth it to you, if it's going to advance you, and if these pros and cons are worth it to you. So at the end, I'll kind of give you some advice because I'm probably going to confuse you because I'm going to give you a pro and then I'm going to give you a con. But at the end, I'll try to give you guys some advice on how to decide what is best for you. So without further ado, if you guys like grad school content, make sure you subscribe. I have another year and a half left. And I also do lots of fashion content, vlogs, stuff like that, so make sure you subscribe. It really helps out my channel and I love talking with you guys. So leave me a comment if you're thinking about grad school. Tell me what program you're thinking about or where you go to grad school if you do go. And without further ado, let's get into the first pro. So the first pro, pretty obvious, you are most likely going to be able to get a higher salary. When you have higher qualifications, so the higher the degree you have, the more money you are more likely to make. Of course, this is not always the case. We all know people who didn't graduate high school who are millionaires. But just in a everyday life, if I had to write it down, if I had to put a formula to it, the higher degree you have, the more money you are most likely going to make. So for example, I'm getting my MHA, which is a Master of Healthcare Administration. Someone who has a bachelor's degree in healthcare administration and someone who has a master's degree in healthcare administration, the master's is going to be more qualified to make more money. Now, to go along with that, let me throw a con at you: debt. Pretty self-explanatory. You're gonna have quite a bit of debt if you go to grad school. I was very blessed, very lucky, and my parents did help me with my undergrad degree, but grad school was on me. So I'm gonna graduate with about 40K worth of debt for a 2-year program. And I also am in one of the cheaper programs. I say that because I am in-state and I'm in a state school. So as an in-state student, I do get reduced tuition, and as a state school, so as in not private, we all know that's a little bit cheaper. So I take about $5,000 per semester for my tuition. It's about $4,800. So I take $10,000 in loans for tuition, and then I take $10,000 in loans for living expenses because you have other things like books, parking passes, regular living expenses, which I'll get into. With that being said, I will have about 20K in debt for each year that I'm in school, so that will put me at about 40K. So I think you having a higher salary is necessary because again, the further you go in your education, the more debt you are going to have. The next pro that I have for you guys is that you get to deep dive into something that you love and something you're interested in. If you're going to grad school, you really need to make sure you are going for something that you love, because you don't just want to waste your time, getting up a bunch of debt for something that you're not even that passionate about. So again, for me, healthcare administration. I will link up the video here about my degree because I'm gonna try and not get too much into that in this video. But just for an example, I love healthcare and I want to help people, but I don't like clinical. So I wanted to be in the business side of things. So I am passionate about research and public health and healthcare administration. I am now able to take classes which are very specific into what I'm interested in. These classes are super specific on healthcare administration. If you're gonna go to School of Social Work, all your classes are going to be very focused on social work stuff. So that is definitely a pro, that you get to do something that you're passionate about, something that you can talk to people about and just show that you love it. A con for grad school going with deep diving into your interests is the time commitment. I'm gonna go into different types of time commitments as this video goes on, but for this one, I'm just gonna talk about the 2 years of your life that you are going to be very busy. You are deep diving into your interests, so that is 2 years worth of school that you could have been doing something else. So not only are you going to be spending those 2 years, but in order to deep dive, as I keep saying, into something that you're interested in, you have to spend hours studying what you're interested in. So for me, for every single class I have, I take 4 classes a semester. Each class we meet for 3 hours a week, once a week. So that's 12 hours of class I have every single week. On top of that, I have about 3 to 5 hours of homework per class per week. Do the math if you want, but I think it comes out to 12, 24, like 35 to 40 hours worth of work for a full-time semester, which I am a full-time student. So it's a full-time job, you know, it's no joke. It is a time commitment, and it's not a 9 to 5. It's more of a 24 hours type thing, because like my classes are in the evening, because master's students, a lot of people do have part-time jobs. So my classes are from 5:30 to 8:15 Monday and Tuesday this semester, and then I have class on Saturday as well. So, you know, my Saturdays are gone. It is a huge time commitment in order to study something that you love. The third pro that I have for you guys is that you are going to be a much more competitive applicant when it comes to getting a job. And say you have someone with a bachelor's in health admin and you have someone with a master's in health admin, the master's is most likely going to get the job if everything else was even. You are definitely going to be a more competitive applicant. You're going to feel a lot better putting in applications because you will have this extra education and extra experience. Going on with that though, if you look at someone who is the same age by the time you graduate, they most likely will have 2 years of work experience that you might not necessarily have. This one I'm kind of iffy about, because I know most of the students in my program do work full-time and I do work part-time, so I am getting that experience, but it's not fully the same because you aren't able to completely immerse yourself in that work experience. So technically you are losing about 2 years of potential really valuable work experience. For me, for example, I'm only working part-time, so I'm not able to really have that heavy work experience, project management, things like that. However, I will say with this one, the pro versus the con, I do think the pro outweighs the con, because your degree is invaluable, and I always say once you get a degree, no one can take that away from you. There's nothing anyone can do to diminish your degree. So in this one, I will give it to the pro. The fourth thing that I have for you, starting on the pro side, is the immense amount of networking opportunities. People love people who went to the same school and got the same degree as them. My program, one of my favorite things about it is the amount of alumni reach out that we have and alumni just communication. We have almost every month with our student organization that I work in, and alumni come and talk about what they did after they graduated. And every single time we have someone come talk, I connect with them on LinkedIn, I send them a message, I tell them thank you so much for talking, I loved your story, I would love to hear more from you. The network opportunities are super immense. People who are in the higher education field beyond a bachelor's degree, there's so much networking. Everybody wants to talk to everybody. Everybody wants to connect on LinkedIn. Just you having that college or education automatically connects you to hundreds and thousands of alumni. Going with that, you are going to have a lot of networking opportunities. You're going to meet a lot of really smart people, but you probably are going to lose a little bit of social life, or a lot of social life. So do not think you're going to be going to grad school and it's going to be like undergrad. It's not going to be like undergrad where you are partying on Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday night at all, because you probably have evening classes and you probably only have enough time for like one friend or a boyfriend or a girlfriend, whatever. So yeah, I definitely have downed my social life a little bit for multiple reasons. One, I moved cities, so you know, I don't really have a lot of friends here. I don't know that many people. I have a few. For the most part, you do lose those college connections. Of course, we keep in touch, we FaceTime, we text, but you just don't have time to have that full immersive college social life experience. The last pro that I have for you guys is that you could potentially be published, which is a huge deal when looking for jobs and other things like that. If you do have to do a research project, a thesis, a dissertation, something like that, the odds are you most likely are going to get published. I actually do not have to do anything like that, but I still have the opportunity to get published because I do work as part of a research project. That's my part-time job. I work in research as a research evaluator. So I do have the opportunity, if I wanted to propose a project and get published. Again, it's a huge deal. People will recognize you, other scholars and things like that. It's another great way to meet people, and who doesn't think it's cool to have a published scientific research paper out there. The con to being published, of course, is that dissertations and theses and research projects are hard. They are year-long projects, 2 years, 3 years, whatever. You might not even finish it before you graduate, and it takes a lot of research, one, to come up with the topic that hasn't already been done. I mean, once you start getting into the research world and looking at everything, you realize how much research there already is out there for so many things. And then you have to get people to want to help you. You have to get people who want to participate, things like that. So you have to get funding, grants, everything like that. It's not easy to do, but it's definitely worth it. Those are my 5 pros, 5 cons that I have for you guys. I know you're probably like, girl, what the heck? You just gave us 5 pros and then shot them down with cons. But if you look at the other way, I gave you cons and then I ignored them with pros. That's kind of how I look at it, but I want to give you guys a few tips on how to decide if going to grad school is actually worth it to you. First things first, let's state the obvious. If your career requires you to get a grad degree, then your decision has been made. If you want to be a physician's assistant a social worker, things like that, you do have to get a master's degree in order to do anything with your job. So lucky you, the decision has been made. The second most important thing I think to consider is whether the cost is worth it or not. So like I said, you need to figure out how much debt you're gonna have. Combined debt, including with your undergrad degree. For example, I know doctors and pharmacy students often graduate with $200,000 worth of debt just as a base. That is a lot of debt. However, it's usually worth it because they are often making a lot of money with that degree. I think a good rule of thumb that I heard from a financial advisor before is if you're going to graduate with less debt than your starting salary, then it's good debt. If you are coming out of undergrad and you already have $60K worth of debt, my degree probably wouldn't be worth it for you because you're probably not going to be making significantly more than 60, 70K starting out. You're like me and you didn't have a lot of debt coming out of undergrad, so now I'm going to have about 40K. Hopefully my first job will be between 60 and 70. That's good debt because I will be able to pay it off and still live my life. I hope that makes sense. Everything I say is not solid, rock solid. You can do anything you really put your mind to, but this is just things to consider and think about. Another thing to think about is, are there career opportunities with a master's degree that you wouldn't have with just a bachelor's degree? This was another big one for my job, mainly because my bachelor's degree was not in healthcare admin, it was in exercise science. My job opportunities were relatively bleak with an exercise science degree unless I wanted to go into a field that I did not want to go into. So for me, I really needed to get my master's degree in order to get into healthcare administration. I could have been a very, very basic entry-level administrative person, but I wanted to have some more project management, some more middle to upper level administration jobs. So I really was needing to get a master's degree. Very similar for if you got a bachelor's degree in English and you wanted to be a researcher, you might want to get a master's in clinical research or something like that. So once you kind of figure out the money, figure out if you really need it for your job, you know, I say keep doing your research, reach out to people on LinkedIn, networking, communication, talk to your friends, talk to your family, find someone who got the same degree that you're looking into getting, send them an email. I've had so many people message me on Instagram and I've literally responded to every single one because I get it, it's a hard decision to make and a lot of people don't know what they want to do with their life, and that's okay, but you just have to make a decision and stick with it. So if you decide you want to go to grad school, that is amazing, congratulations, I'm happy for you. It really is a good decision as long as you did your research and you think it's going to benefit you in the long run. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. I hope it gave you a little bit more insight on whether grad school is worth it for you. I think it was totally worth it for me, is totally worth it for me since I'm still in the middle of it. Let me know if you guys have any advice for someone who is doing research on grad school that I left out. Make sure you subscribe. I appreciate it so much, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye guys.